Wow.
Which way?
Make a rightish.
To the water?
No. Yes. On the other side.
No, right through here. Right through here. You're gonna have to get us from Gusto. So I was taking a look at some stuff here. Giant suspension components. The ball joints are huge, big aluminum control arms and knuckles. And I was trying to find the bump stop here because one thing I was concerned with is, most of these trucks that come on 35s, 37s have no up travel. That's not the case here. That bump stop, that's it right there, has a long way to go before it contacts its perch. Really good setup. Nice skid plates, very tucked up in there, very flat, maximized ground clearance, but still really good protection. That's the big disconnecting sway bar right there. And same thing in the back. You see a lot of space on between that bump stop and the frame. So unlike the Raptor 37, this thing actually has up travel, and unlike the Jeep Extreme Recon, which has no up travel. So that's why I think this truck's better than those. It has the 37s, and the truck was built around that.
Wipers.
Don't talk. Who's filming? It's pretty Dick. So it's got these clamps. This is a lot like the Jeep, how all these things come off. They actually kind of stole that from Jeep. That's exactly the same clamp. Feels big in here, though. So you got your grandma let you use your Jeep? Dude, my Lexus?
Sway bar disconnect.
Sway bar disconnect.
Front. That's the trail turn.
So this connects probably just the front sway bar? Do you have a rear sway bar?
There is no rear sway bar.
Ah, nice, good. No sway bars. Die like a real man.
Yeah.
Oh, and okay, that's your little tractor turn assist. Very cool.
And I don't have anything hooked up, but it's got.
It's pre-wired for all kinds of stuff. Yeah, my Pioneers, they don't just switches like that. They don't hook up to anything. One thing to note is that these lockers operate independently, unlike a lot of other trucks. And you can lock the front and the rear separately. So you can have just front lock. You also can do Baja mode where you lock the rear at high speeds. Toyotas are very locked down. You can only use your rear locker when you're in low. Fucking comfortable. Wow, you barely even feel those little moves.
It's insane, dude.
That's nuts.
Really insane.
Yeah.
They really built a hell of a fucking machine.
Yeah. It took him years to realize that the Raptor F-150 needed to not have leaf springs. Yeah. They went from that to this real quick and they figured it out.
Turn here. Back to like the fucking seats.
The seats are really premium for a Ford. For a Ford? I mean, but this is like a German interior. Like the way these seats are, it's like, this reminds me of my Beamer.
Sorry.
I felt the front bump stop there, but just barely.
We don't have enough room to catch a plane right now, dude. Once you get fast enough, that just stops happening. Right?
Yeah, it'll start leveling out.
Go hit Big Sandy.
It must be thinking it's pinching something. Oh, come on. Oh.
It's got like a safety thing.
We're going on manual.
We have found the first problem with the window, with the truck.
Shit.
The window is rolling itself down. I bet it's a common thing.
There's still my boy, and that's yeah, we fist bumped from our Broncos. We're fucking bonded for life.
Bronco boys.
All right, we're turning around right here, and we're fucking following Tom around.
Yeah, go catch it with, go catch it with Tom, like that's an issue.
Yeah, like now that it's been cold up in Jack's, or like those cold mornings and shit, it's a lot more wind noise. You can just tell it's not like fitting.
The seals
tight.
are interesting.
But not like you're not feeling drafts or anything, but you can just hear a little bit.
And you're gonna have that. I mean, it's got so many different gaskets. It's anything with a removable roof, you're gonna have that. But I just wish that it laid the windshield back a little bit so you get that drone.
Yeah.
Oh, there goes Tom.
Of 80. Man, I'm amazed you got this already.
Yeah. The dealership had never seen one. I still haven't seen another one on the road.
No, I haven't seen one on the road, and I don't see one in dealerships either. I'm glad it really at least has 2 high mode. Like, the TRX, it's always in 4-wheel drive. So you can only do 4-wheel drive donuts. Which, I mean, you can do it. But 2-wheel drive's nice to have.
Yeah,
my new Lexus is all-time 4-wheel drive. It drives me nuts. Like 4,000.
That is a nice thing about Jeeps.
Putting 15,000 miles on it.
Damn. Dude, your whole body shakes.
That was a little washboard.
This way? No.
Yeah.
No.
Dude, this thing gear matches so fucking nice.
It's got the paddles, but you haven't.
I don't even.
You haven't had to think about needing
Big
them.
Sandy and Baja mode because it wants to run like a sport mode where it keeps you at 3,000 RPM.
Dude, this is doing that all on its own?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it does the rev matching on every fucking shift.
Dude, the loudest thing in your truck is my cup.
Yeah.
That's true.
Exhaust sounds good though.
Oh, I can put it in Baja mode.
Not
on the
too loud.
exhaust.
Do it,
We can go Baja
do
mode,
it.
which is I would never ever do on purpose. Yeah, you can change the exhaust note.
Hey guys, so I got to ride in a Bronco Raptor yesterday, and it was really awesome. And wanted to go through and just talk through some of the specs and some of the pictures and some of the things I noticed on it. And I'll show you some of the footage we did from just hauling ass around Holopla in it. Super neat truck, probably the most capable off-road machine out of the box of all time that you can buy as a normal person. And you know, I do appreciate that Ford just keeps kind of pushing the limits with what you can make street legal. So let's just go through some of these pictures and talk about some stuff. So here's the suspension highlighted with the body off. These shock towers are huge. I noticed looking at the truck, they're extremely beefed up, and they raised them way up in here. So this frame is loosely related to the Ranger, I think. But they really beefed up these shock towers to get more travel out of it. And speaking of travel, I think it's got like 12 in the front, 13 in the rear suspension travel, which is a little bit less than the Bronco, or excuse me, the F-150 Raptor, but it's still like twice what my Land Cruiser has. So it's pretty insane the amount of suspension that's in this thing. Now it is really wide. That's a big way to get suspension travel with IFS is to make it wider. So it's 10 inches wider than the regular truck. But all that to say, it's really, really cool. And one thing you can see where we're looking here is this right here is the sway bar. And it's got what looks like to me like a hydraulic disconnect on the sway bar. Which is badass. There's no rear sway bar. It's got a beefy front sway bar that you can totally disconnect, which Jeep's had disconnecting sway bars for a while. A lot of other luxury cars have it, like my truck with KDSS. But pretty neat that it just totally disconnects in the center, and you can disconnect this one under a load. Also, steel bumpers, super nice. Big toe points. I really don't know how they could sell this truck for $70,000 with the amount of kit it's got in it. 37-inch tires. So you can get 37s on the Raptor F-150, but if you do that, the bump stops get dropped down a lot on the F-150. You can see that there's still tons of up travel on the Bronco, even with the 37s, and that's because all the Bronco Raptors have 37s. It's not just a package. So I think that allowed Ford to build in a little more up travel. I have some pictures that I took where you can see the bottom bump stop, and there's still plenty of up travel front and rear with the 37, so that's pretty outstanding. You do get these giant fender flares that stick out like, I don't know, 8 inches on each side. Pretty crazy. Exhaust is tucked up in here real nice. It's like out of the way. It's in a safe spot. Hitch is very, tucked into the bumper. I think it can tow 4,500 pounds, which is pretty good considering what it is. Fox live valve shocks, and it's also got suspension position sensors on all four corners, so it can measure its flex, and I actually can show you that in the screen, and it can use that to adjust dampening. So that's pretty cool. This is, obviously the Talons have live valve as well. There's the front live valve, pretty monstrous shockage, 3-inch coilovers. Cameras everywhere. If you back this truck into something, you really can't drive because it's got 360 view that's really good, and the cameras, you can see the tires in them. I mean, it's just nuts. The interior is super sexy. These seats are almost like, I don't know, M3 seats or something. It's got mode buttons on the steering wheel where you can set up certain modes, hit the button, like a shortcut into it, also kind of like an M3. And the roof comes off and everything. And I think the interior is pretty sexy. The screen was like really good resolution, very pretty. It has a lot of these handles everywhere, and I didn't find any of them particularly useful for the passenger going, 70 miles an hour through Holopla. A good old OS handle, oh shit handle right here would have been great, but there are a lot of handles. I think they're just kind of in weird spots. The one thing I noticed. But the material on the seats feels really good. One thing that is sad, no air conditioned seats or no ventilated seats. Oh well. Let's keep going. There's some ads in here. There's another view. The interior is pretty sexy, to be honest. Yeah, there's this handle up here too, but it's just like, I don't know. I wanted just a regular old oh shit handle. Let's see. I think they have some pictures of it flexing in here. The bumpers are super recessed, and there's full skid plates all the way across, and they don't look like, the typical 1/16 inch steel factory skid plates you get on like my GX470. These skid plates are pretty beefy and impressive, and they're all the way underneath. I'll show you some of my pictures of that. It's fast. It's got like 418 horsepower. We'll go over the car and driver specs in a second for the performance stuff. Yeah, look how well the hitch is recessed up in there. And then you got 2 tow points that are very easily accessible. Full-size 37-inch spare on the back. They definitely copied a ton of stuff from Jeep. Just like all over it. It's like, oh yeah, that's straight from Jeep. That's straight from Jeep. The window switches are in the center, straight from Jeep. I don't know why they do that, but I think it's dumb, but that's where there are. So they definitely like, hey, Jeep's doing this for a while. People like this. Let's just copy this from Jeep. That's all over the place. People do say the wind noise is terrible because you have this upright windshield like a Gladiator or Wrangler. So, you don't want to be cruising on this truck on the highway at 80 too long because you'll go deaf. Car and Driver says it gets 17 on the highway, which is extremely impressive. They talk shit about it because they're car people and they don't know anything, but any vehicle that's got 37-inch tires and this kind of suspension and ground clearance, 13 inches of ground clearance, 17 miles per gallon highway is outstanding. Yeah, I thought, there we go. Here's some flexing pictures. So they got the front sway bar unlocked here, full flex up there. That big 37's tucking in there with plenty of space around it. Look at that down travel. That is excellent. I mean, my GX470 has the longest travel shock I can put on it, and I don't get anywhere near that droop. So it's pretty amazing how this thing flexes. The Raptor F-150 does have a little more travel and a little more horsepower, but the wheelbase on this thing, I mean, it's going to be better off-road. It's super wide, but it's got a lot shorter wheelbase. All right, so that's it for their pictures. Pretty sexy. Let's look at the car and driver specs. Talk through those for a second. So 418 horsepower, 440 foot-pounds of torque. Excellent. It's a 3-liter V6 twin turbo, so it doesn't have the same 3.5 as the F-150. So it's a little down on power there. Similar 10-speed transmission. It was really smart in Holopaw. It shifted pretty much when you wanted it to, and we really didn't mess with the paddle shifters or manual mode at all. 0 to 60 is dealt with in 5.6 seconds with a 0.3 second rollout. So it's still faster than 99% of cars on the road on 37-inch tires. 14.4 second quarter mile. It's quick, but I think this number is a little more impressive. And obviously the F-150 beats it in all these. And car and driver observed fuel economy was 14, but they did a 75-mile highway loop, and they got 17 miles per gallon, which that's pretty awesome. It's got 37-inch tires. I'm not a big EcoBoost fan, but that's really impressive. So obviously this thing's main competition would be like the Wrangler 392. But honestly, the Wrangler still has a live axle in the front, so it's never going to drive as good on pavement as this will. So to me, this just wins because it doesn't have a live axle in the front. So for rock crawling, the Wrangler's probably going to be better. You could probably get more droop and flex out of it. The Wrangler Rubicon 392. But this comes on 37s. Those only come on 35s if you get the Extreme Recon package. So it's pretty cool. Pretty good crawl ratio there, almost 70 to 1. Pretty nuts. And what else do they got on here? Goat modes. It's got a mode where it'll break the inside rear wheel and spin around like the Land Cruisers had for a while. A lot of fancy stuff like that. This back axle is really wide and sexy. They definitely made that bigger. It's not just like a wider offset wheel. I mean, this thing's got a whole dedicated giant rear axle. These lower links, they kind of made them look like they're, trailing arm suspension, but the shock mounts to the axle where you'd expect. It doesn't mount to the link. So it's cute, but it's really just a 5-link suspension, like very similar to what's on my old GX470. So overall, really like it. Would I buy one? No, probably not, because Ford fucked me so bad on my F-150 with the transmission issues, and their customer service was so bad. I'll never buy another Ford. However, I do think it's awesome that they're still making these vehicles and creating good competition. And I mean, it's just insane that you can, for $70,000 or $80,000, you can get something that this much suspension, this much power, and a nice interior, sexy seats. And we went super fast at Holopaw. You'll see it. It just floats over stuff. The only thing we noticed was in some washboard, like small washboard at like medium speeds, it got a little jostly. But as long as you put your foot down and got going a little faster, the suspension could work and soak it up. And it does have a bunch of suspension settings we didn't really play with all that much, so maybe you could tweak it and make it a little smoother at medium speeds. But let's be honest, this thing's not really made to creep around in the sand. You're supposed to be using the horsepower. I'd really like to go ride with this thing again and do some climbing with it, some slower speed stuff, and see how it articulates. With the live valve and the disconnecting sway bar, it should flex amazing. It'd be really cool to see how it flexes compared to like a Land Cruiser or something for some slow speed stuff. Because I mean, it's got a great low gear ratio, so it should be awesome at that too. But now I'm going to show you some of the footage. We got just cruising around Holthall.